My name is Tim, and this is the third in my series of lessons in isolation. The isolation lessons for religious studies or whatever acronym you're using. And this one is about Passover or Pesach. And it actually happens this week. On Wednesday, people are going to be celebrating the SEDER. They're going to be having the Passover meal. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. What will be happening at that meal? The Passover is one of three pilgrim festivals. The other two are the Festival of Weeks and the Festival of Tabernacles, Shavuot and Sukkot. And people at the time of the temple would have gone up to the temple with their families to celebrate these festivals. After 70 AD or 70 CE, when the temple is destroyed, Judaism was reconfigured and focuses now very much on the family. These are family celebrations. Where does the story of Passover come from? Well, it's about the Jews leaving Egypt. How did they get to Egypt in the first place? Well, they were taken there by Jacob and his family. The story of Joseph, you remember Joseph in the amazing Technicolor dream coat? Well, it has relevance here. That is how Joseph and his family get into Egypt. And that is how the Jews start a new life in Egypt until there is a financial crisis. That is then blamed on the Israelites. They are turned into slaves. They are abused badly until Moses rises up to challenge the then Pharaoh and say, "Let my people go." And he explains that there will be 10 plagues if Pharaoh does not let his people go. Pharaoh does not, there are 10 plagues, each more ghastly than the one before. And at the end, Pharaoh says, "Okay, go!" And then he changes his mind and he sends 600 chariots after the Israelites, pursuing them to the edge of the Red Sea, or maybe the Reed Sea, which opens miraculously, and the Israelites pass through it, and then it closes on the pursuing 600 chariots of the Pharaoh, who die. It's a departure made in haste. There was no time. There was no time even to let the bread rise. Yeast or leaven in bread in Hebrew is called chametz. Very important in this festival. All grains involve chametz. The rabbis interpret chametz as an image of pride. So we want to rely on God. So all chametz, all pride is removed from the house. In fact, many families have special sets of chametz-free, of Passover crockery, of saucepans, of cutlery. They buy special foods which have been stamped by the Rabbinic Council to prove that there is no chametz in them. And then on the night before the SEDER, there is a search for chametz in the house. It's often performed with feathers and a candle. And often people have hidden 10 little pieces of bread around the house. So you have to find all 10 little pieces of bread. And in the morning, the following morning, these 10 little pieces of bread are burnt. After a last meal with chametz, a last meal with yeast. And the SEDER lights are lit in the evening, exactly as they would be lit on an ordinary Shabbos evening. And the SEDER, what does the word SEDER mean? It simply means order. The SEDER is the order that is followed for this festival. At the beginning of the Passover festival, the youngest child in the family would ask 4 questions. These have often been set to traditional music. I'll see if I can do you a demonstration. Ma nishtana halayla hazeh mikol halelot mikol halelot shebekol halelot anu achlin chametz umatzah, chametz umatzah, halayla hazeh, kulo matzah, halayla hazeh, kulo matzah. Actually, that's question number 2 in some traditions. In some traditions, it's question number 1. But, there's a little bit of confusion here. Judaism has been going on for many years, so there are different traditions. But the story which is told in response to these 4 questions, why is this night different to every other night? The Haggadah, the Haggadah is a story, the tale, the story, explains how the Jews come out from Egypt and cross the Red Sea, cross the Sea of Reeds. The story is told not only with stories, but also with images of food. The matzah, for example, there are 3 bits of unleavened bread. It's bread of freedom. It's a break with the past. One piece of matzah, the middle piece of matzah, is broken. It's known as the afikomen, the dessert. It's hidden often for the end of the meal. The matzah is a link with the past. It's a link with other families, with the whole Jewish people. Red wine is drunk. 4 cups of red wine are drunk during the meal. They recall the 4 sayings of God as expressed in Exodus chapter 6, verse 6. I will bring you out of Egypt. I will deliver you. I will redeem you. I will take you with me. But the red wine also has a much deeper symbolism. It's the blood on the doorposts as the angel of death passes over the Israelites and the Egyptians, and the angel of death avoids the Israelites because they have been marked. It's the blood of slaves, the slavery that the Israelites were kept in by the Egyptians. Image number 3, salt water. This is the tears of the slaves, but it's also an image of the Red Sea. It's an image, therefore, of freedom. The charoset, the paste, is an image of the paste which was used, the mud which was used to make the bricks when the Israelites were slaves. There's different ingredients. I'm putting them up behind because I don't want to take too long in this talk. There's a wonderful thing called the karpas, which is really a vegetable. But if you rearrange the letters in Hebrew of karpas, you will get the word perech, and this is this means slave labor. So again, it's nutrition, and it's also recalling hardship. Number 6, the bone, the shank bone, and the egg. These don't actually relate to the actual event of Pesach. They relate to the idea of sacrifice in the temple. The temple no longer exists. And then there's the afikomen, the dessert, a small piece of matzah has been hidden away to finish the meal. After Pesach, there are 4 free days. The Chol Hamoed, the ordinary days of the festival. People will often sing Hallel psalms, but not all of them. And at the end of the festival, one would say the traditional Havdalah, which is the same sort of prayer that would be used to signal the end of the Shabbos, the end of the Sabbath, and the beginning of the week, to separate the holy days from the rest of the calendar. So that very, very quickly is an analysis of the Passover, which as I say is coming up this week. I wanted to get this film in as fast as possible. I will try and make another film to sort of tidy this up, but get this one in the can. And look, have a good week, and I will see you a little later. Thank you. Bye-bye.